Welcome to Policing TV. Each week we will explore the highlights from our latest videos, diving into topics like AI, technology, drugs, and the people shaping the future of policing. This City Forum event focused on transforming police public contact, highlighting innovations in technology, challenges in management, and the critical role of data in police reform. Various speakers include Susannah Shaw, Deputy Director at City Forum, Sir Craig Mackey, Nelson the OPCC for Gloucestershire, the Digital Public Contact Lead for the NPCC Simon Megicks, and the Met's Tony Joseph with Giles Herdale.
Good morning, I'm Susannah Shaw, Deputy Director at City Forum. We're delighted to welcome Policing TV to this City Forum event held at BT Tower. We're very grateful to our sponsors. We've got BT, Content Guru, Salesforce, Culper Cloud and Soprasteria. Without their support we wouldn't be able to run these events today. The events are held under the Chatham House rules, so there'll be no filming inside the actual sessions, but we're looking forward to hearing some interviews outside of the sessions that Policing TV will be conducting. Thank you very much.
Welcome to the event today and thank you very much for coming. I've been working with City Forum for about 10 years. First came across City Forum when I worked in London, former Deputy Commissioner of the Met, and today is one of those sort of mainstays of the policing calendar. It's a chance to talk about first contact, first interaction with policing, and hear some of the really innovative work that's going on, but also some of the real challenges people are facing and the pace of adoption. And then looking at that in the context of what we know is coming down the line in terms of police reform. So it's a chance today to share ideas, share thinking, and look at some really good opportunities and recognise some of the great things going on in policing, but also some of those challenges ahead.
I'm here at City Forum for the lunchtime session. I've just done a presentation with people like Sir Andy Cook talking about contact management and raising a whole load of interesting issues, very informative questions that we've had here, and it's got me thinking over a number of different things, and hopefully the audience as well to reflect on some of the messages that we've given in our presentation.
Hello, Simon Megicks, the Digital Public Contact Lead for the NPCC, here at the City Forum. I've just chaired session 2 on all things governance, performance and data around contact. Absolutely fabulous event, some really interesting speakers, some really interesting challenges from the floor. There's a clear passion in this particular room for doing better around contact, being future thinking, looking to the future. What can we do to support our public, giving them channel choice, giving them the best service we can. We know in policing, of course we do, that trust and confidence is absolutely key, and that starts from the very first point of contact. So, good event today, some really interesting speakers, and I'm looking forward to this afternoon.
Hi, I'm Tony Josephs. I'm Temporary Chief Superintendent in the Met, and I presented today at the City Forum Transforming Public Contact event on data.
Hi, I'm Giles Herdale. I'm an associate at City Forum, got a long-standing interest in policing and technology.
Fantastic. So the main points of my presentation today are really thinking about reflecting on our colleagues from HMIC in terms of their view of how police is using data for understanding scrutiny and performance, and reflecting that in the last Getting a Grip report, the HMIC reported that police didn't really understand their demand. I was positing some ideas that we were now using AI technology to better understand our demand. The second point I was making is that we had a PCC, Nelson, on the panel as well, and he was talking about in his remit and his performance and management role across the APCC, thinking about how he can understand and we can understand the voice of the public in performance and the use of data. And then thirdly, we had the College of Policing on the panel as well, and I was trying to posit the idea that what works is a way of forces improving their own performance by talking to each other using data and then improving performance as a result of that.
So it was really interesting hearing you talk about data. And one of the issues that we came up with was the reliability and accuracy of policing data.
Yeah.
And so I think you've got some ideas and proposals about how you can make that data more visible
Yeah.
and easier to interrogate for police leaders?
Yeah, so thank you, Giles. There were three things I talked about. The first one was around the kind of the quality of the data. Then I talked about the availability of the data, and then the skills of those using the data. So if I take each of those in turn, in terms of the quality of the data, quite a lot of data in different policing systems, purportedly to be the same data holding the same kind of set of information, not quite true in policing, different back-end systems. So the idea that policing is toying with at the moment is to use robotics and certain robotics kind of engines and algorithms to clean the data at source. That gives you clean data, which you can then apply kind of fantastic new technologies like AI over the top of it. So clean data in, good information out via AI. The second thing is availability. Lots of our data is captured in local force systems. My strategy is to jailbreak almost that data out and encompass it into a kind of a national data kind of lake framework, which allows all forces to see their data compared to their local forces, their regional forces, and the national picture, and kind of see where they are. Allows them using what works methodology to improve that. And the third part of my process really is thinking about the skills required to use data in the best possible way. And I was really talking about the senior officers who, as part of their what was called the Strategic Command Course, but now ELP, just thinking about how they are trained in the quality and the value of data and how important it is as an asset, as well as our other resources, people and dogs and all of those sorts of things.
Fantastic. So in the first session we heard about police reform and the issue of increasing public confidence. So how do you think the things you were talking about with data feed into that whole police reform agenda?
So two ways for me, I think, Giles. The first one being that for reform to take place, you kind of need to know where you're going from and be able to forecast where you're going to. And for that, I clearly think you need data. You need to know kind of how disparate the problem is, where the problem is, and then use forecasting to figure out what the problem could look like in the future. So you need data for that. When you think about who are the best people to kind of lead the reformed NCOP environment in the future, there's some conversations in the room about kind of the right skills required for it, the right level of experience. And I think that Simon Megicks, the DCC of Norfolk, the SRO for the Digital Public Contact Programme, was saying that you need to have experience in not only leading your own force transformations, but thinking about the national level to be able to then work at that kind of wider strategic level in the National Centre of Policing as proposed. So I think there's something there about providing the technology and providing the environment around it, but also the skills around it as well.
Definitely. And that cultural issue of being able to see perhaps the bigger picture and learn from others, whether that's inside policing or also outside bodies who might have relevant expertise.
Really, really good point. I think sometimes we think about policing happening in a vacuum for my particular force or my particular force area, and actually thinking about it at the national level encourages that collaborative, cooperative approach. So something about looking outside of what we're thinking about in terms of data and how it's used. And there's something there about if you have experience of working outside of policing or have trusted voices from outside of policing in the conversations, whether it's from across the public sector, whether it's from private sector, it's great to have those voices which we can then learn from to improve. Policing isn't only about what we think, it should be about what the public needs, what the wider public services need, and what we can get from the marketplace in terms of the private sector.
On Tuesday, we heard from Dr. Amanda Davies, who shared her extensive background in policing education, detailing her journey from the New South Wales Police Academy to her roles at the Rabdan Academy in Abu Dhabi and Charles Sturt University in Australia. In this clip, we hear about Amanda's thoughts on the Rabdan Experience.
The Rabdan Experience was certainly very different to that which I had had in Australia, and mainly because the faculty are comprised of both national Emirati officers and lecturers, but also a very significant proportion of international experts that come into Rabdan to assist with building the knowledge and skills. Our responsibility was particularly focused on police officers and delivering the bachelor programs, and then we developed a master's program in police leadership. Interestingly, I was unprepared for the level of investment in education that occurs with Abu Dhabi Police, for example. And I can very vividly recall one of the first meetings that I went to with Abu Dhabi Police. And in that room, all of those officers had attained a master's or a PhD, generally from international universities, and so that their knowledge and their ability to benchmark the work that we were doing at Rabdan and the work that is done for Abu Dhabi Police was very much current and very timely. So that was certainly a very interesting perspective, and we worked very closely with Abu Dhabi Police to ensure that not only were we providing fundamental policing knowledge and skills, but also looking to the future and the preparing those officers for the future of policing, which, as we all know around the world, has changed significantly and been particularly impacted by the coronavirus.
It's worth saying here something about Rabdan, actually, because those viewing this may not appreciate the place that Rabdan University has within the Abu Dhabi Emirate and within the wider UAE. Rabdan was a favourite horse of the founder of the United Arab Emirates, Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan, and hence the name. And it provides training, policing and security related training for young Emirati, does it not? You've described some of the young Emirati there. Abu Dhabi Police, for example, made up of generally mid-ranking and senior officers who are themselves Emirati, and then less senior officers, junior officers that are drawn in from across the Arab-speaking world. So Rabdan Academy has a very significant and important place in Emirati society. Does it not?
Oh, certainly, Bernard. And it's important to just note that the education at Rabdan Academy is more in the theoretical side. So we're talking about bachelor programs, master's programs, certainly vocational programs on one side of Rabdan's work with not just Abu Dhabi Police, but international police organisations also. They do not deliver the, if you like, the physical training for police officers and others. It's restricted purely to the, as I say, the more theoretical. That does not mean to say that they do not simulate exercises, etc., that might be valuable for preparing their officers. However, not the physical ones that they would be using, such as your weapons and control exercises. Certainly, they include crime scene investigation, and that's done in a simulated environment at Rabdan and with their partners at Abu Dhabi Police. Yes, so a little bit different from other potential police academies around the world, where it is both the theoretical and the physical that are taught.
Thursday saw us hear more from retired Inspector Lance Valcour, who continued to share his personal journey through addiction and mental health challenges during his policing career. In this clip, we hear about the pivotal moment when his wife, Lisa, confronted him about his behaviour, leading him to seek help.
Take us through what was presumably towards the back end of your policing career. That's the point that you and your wife began to recognise these challenges and began to tackle.
Yeah, no, in fact, it was kind of mid-career. The very early part, as I started to say in the previous section, where these chains start to get added to any first responder, any member of the military, hospital workers, people that deal with stress, right? Those chains got heavier and heavier and heavier, except I didn't know it, right? I thought I was fine. I'm being successful. I was, in fact, at the stage where she said those words to me. I had recently been promoted. I was a staff sergeant then, in charge of our break and enter squad, seen as quite successful, kind of on an upward trending pattern. And I thought, life's pretty good. And then she utters those words. And And it's because I had become, frankly, a different person, not the little boy that grew up in the small little village on the St. Lawrence River, but an entirely different person, an angry person, a person who often drank too much. And that's when she said that. And quite frankly, when she said it, I thought, like, this is BS. Like, what are you talking? Like, look at me. Like, look at me. I'm successful. Bernard, you may have heard this. It's not really a funny joke, but there's a saying. People, how do you tell when an alcoholic is lying? And the answer is when they move their lips. And that was me. That everything that I was doing, I mean, outwardly successful, inwardly at home, not so much. So thankfully, she said those words, and then that led to eventually getting help.
Thank you for watching. Tune in next week.